the section that's titled Hasimcha Tchilas Habchira. Right? So Simcha is. Are you guys texting each other? Is that what's happening?
Whenever it comes, I kind of remember it.
Right. So Simcha, so literally happiness, joy, Tchilas Habchira, the beginning of choice. B'chol rega v'rega b'chaim, ha'adam omed b'fnei bechira. So it's actually a very profound section. In every moment in life, a person has a choice to make. A person is omed b'fnei bechira has a choice to make. What's the choice? Rov b'nei adam choshvim sha'bechira maschila tamid b'shikulim ha'inyan. Mahadavar hatov la'asos, page tzadik zayin. V'cheitzad la'asos v'chadoma. So we'll say most of us, when we think about choice, making choices in life, so we assume that what choices usually means is the following. I have two options in front of me, and I have to choose one of those two options, right? Two things that I'm weighing. What's good to do, what's not good to do. And after I decide what's good to do, then I decide how to do it. That's generally how we understand the notion of choice in life. This is so profound. Top of Tzadik Zayin. But in reality, free choice, or I should say choice, begins beforehand. We'll say, what's the first choice a person has to make in life? You should underline this line. The first choice a person has to make in life, we'll say the first choice a person has to make in life. Are you going to be happy with your lot or not? That's the first choice. Am I going to be besimcha with the life that I have? Am I going to be besimcha with the circumstances that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given me? Am I going to be besimcha with my situational reality in life? That's the first choice. Nimsa shabechira mischalakes l'shnei shalabim. Therefore, it turns out that choice is divided up into two categories. Hashlav harishon hu habechira em liyos besimcha. Although but it's such I can't tell you. As I was preparing this last night, I thought to myself, it's like a life-altering way to think about life. The first choice is, are you going to be happy? Am I going to be happy or not? That's the first choice in life. Hashlav hasheni hu habechira ha'inyonis. We'll say the second level of choice is then what we'll call situational choice. I have this option, I have that option. Should I take this one? Should I take that one? But that's a secondary form of choice. The first aspect of choice is, am I going to be besimcha with my circumstances in life or not? We'll say it's only if a person first chooses simcha. In the first category, then hashlav hasheni hu habechira ha'inyonis. I'm sorry. Rak az hu yochol la'avor l'shlav hasheni shel habechira, shu livchor es habechira hanechona b'chol hislabtuyos sheyesh lo, ma la'asos ve'ich la'asos. I will say it's only if a person first is successful in the first level of choice, which is the choice, should I be besimcha? Should I not be besimcha? Only after a person chooses in that category could a person go ahead and move on to the second tier of Bechira, which is then what we normally think about in terms of Bechira. So when we think about Bechira, we normally think about, again, option A, option B. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I take this job, that job? Should I eat this? Should I eat that? Should I spend my day like this? That's fine. That's important Bechira. But the Mechaber posits that Bechira is shaped and is colored and is informed by what I do on the first level of Bechira. Have I made a conscious decision to be besimcha in life? I understand the flow over here. The flow over here means, but it sounds like an inherent contradiction, as we're going to see in just a moment. What if my circumstances are compromised? What if I'm not in a good place? What if I'm not happy with where I am? So should I be besimcha in life even if I'm not happy where I am? And of course, the answer is going to be yes. Because remember, again, we'll say this ties into what we were learning before. Because the circumstance, and we'll see this in just a moment, the circumstances that I have now are from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. Now, I might want to change them, I might want to shape them, I might want to advance them, but I can only do that if first I'm besimcha in them. So we'll say it's incredible yisod. He goes on, he says, so we'll say it's only after I choose to go ahead and be besimcha in life, the second level of bechira. is what I'm doing, what I'm occupying myself with, the right thing or not. And perhaps I should be doing something different than what it is that I'm doing. But in reality, if a person makes the proper choice on the first tier of Bechira, in other words, I make the choice to be Besimcha, Azai lo yihi lo kimatin islaptios, v'abechira ma'alasos tielo kala ma'od. But it's an incredible yisod. The Mechaber further posits that if I actively make the choice to be Besimcha, I make the choice to be Besimcha, my first level of Bechira, then utilizing or properly utilizing the second level of Bechira, i.e., what I should be doing. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I change this? That's much easier when a person, comes to it through a level of simcha. Avalim bebechira harishona. We'll say it's the third paragraph in page Tzadik Zayin. Avalim bebechira harishona lo bachar nachon. We'll say if on the first level of choice, I have not chosen wisely. V'hu eno sameach bechalko. And we'll say I'm just not happy with my chilik in life. I'm not happy with my life. Azai hu eno yochol klal lageshes l'shlav hasheni. It's almost impossible for a person to reach the second level of Bechira. Ki al yidei atzvos ha'adam ma'abed legamrei es yicholas ha'Bechira. Because I will say sometimes if a person is in a state of despair, person is in a state of sadness, it's difficult to make informed decisions in life about what I should be doing and how I should be living. So what he's saying is, if I don't have the first tier of Bechira, of Simcha Bechira, then it's hard to get to the second level where I'm making quantitative and really qualitative choices about my life. If I'm not in the right state, it's hard to know what to choose. V'zos machmos shekasher ha'adam ba'atzvos ein lo yicholes lachshov nachon ulahachlit hachlatos nechonos. Because I always say when a person is in a state of sadness, he doesn't have the ability to think clearly and to make good decisions. Ve'ein lo gam koach lahazis es atzmo v'lasos masim. And I will say, if I'm not happy, it's also difficult to propel myself to engage in dynamic activity. V'od shaydia atzvos Hashem yisparach lo iton. I will say, furthermore, when I'm sad, the atzvos, the Ribono Shalom is not with me. I will say we have this concept that Chazal say of ein hashchina shora ela mitoch simcha. The Shechina only rests on a person if they're in a state of simcha. If I'm sad, if there's atzvus, the Shechina is not with me. Ubevadai b'li Hashem yisbarach hu lo yachol livchor nachon. I will say obviously, if the Ribono Shalom is not with me, my ability to choose correctly and wisely is severely compromised. Lo yachol lasos shum davar. And I will say the reality is, I can't function in any way. So we'll say a profoundly impactful yisod. That the first step, the first level of Bechira in life is making a choice to be B'simcha. I will say, I want to be clear about something. It doesn't lav dafka that it means. You see, we often assume that simcha means a level of contentment. I'm happy when we think that happiness is a manifestation of being content. So I say to myself, well, if my life is not in a place where I want it to be, then how can I be b'simcha? So we're going to explain that in just a moment. We'll explain the mechanics of this. The point the Mechaber is saying is, a person has to first be the first choice I make in life. I choose to be b'simcha. I choose to be happy. I choose ultimately again to feel a state, because if I'm not b'simcha, the collateral damage is too much. Emotional is not with me. I can't think clearly. I'm not in a good headspace, and I can't affect any kind of change on my second level of Bechira. So therefore, the first state of being is Simcha. After I am able to achieve a state of Simcha, then I could use my Bechira to affect all types of life change. Look at the next paragraph. Last paragraph on page Tzadik Zayin. Lochein, Simcha b'yom yom. Lochein, ha'adam tzarech tamid. I will say, and you understand, by the way, where the Mechaber is getting this from. Remember, again, the Mechaber is the Breslover Chassid. So perhaps one of the most famous memories of Rabbi Nachman is Mitzvah Gedola Lihios B'Simcha Tamid. I will say, now understand, we'll talk about this, what this means. Simcha doesn't always mean a smile on your face, right? Simcha doesn't always mean, that you're at the red light in Eretz Yisrael and you turn up your music and you start dancing on the roof of your car. I love Dafka, that's what Simcha means. We'll discuss exactly how this plays out. But look what he writes. L'chein, tzarech adam tzarech tamid lihios merutza mimahalik chayu. We'll say, here we go. Therefore, a person always has to be merutza. We'll say, how would you translate merutza? Merutza means almost like I'm sorry. Willing means a person has to be vested, or a person has to be vested with the direction of his life. V'lismoach b'mashehu oseh. What he's saying over here is, I have to find happiness in where it is that I'm holding right now and what it is that I'm doing right now. Ki bazehu batuach shalafachos es hashlav harishon shel habechira. Now, the only way to be besimcha, meaning to utilize what we'll call first level of bechira, to be besimcha, is to find the happiness in your present circumstances. A person has to be what he calls merutza mimahalichai. I have to find happiness. I have to find simcha. I have to find some level of contentment and fulfillment with my life as it currently is. He goes on. He says, get ready for this. We see many people who are not happy with their lives. They're not happy with their lives, but it's not because of an identifiable reason. It's not because of an identifiable reason. Then tishalosam. So if you ask a person, madua, you ask a person, tell me, why are you not happy with your life? Why are you not happy? They can't give you an articulate answer. We'll say this is amazing. Because sometimes deep down, a person lives with a certain level of what we'll call existential anxiety. What's the existential anxiety about? Am I really living the right life? And I will say, sometimes, people deal with this in different ways. Sometimes people just choose not to think about this, just ignore it and suppress it. And there are other people who are constantly thinking about it. So the difficulty is, it's an overwhelming question. Am I really leading the right life? Is my life really going in the right direction? I will say it is a haunting question. And it's a haunting question because, let's say, I don't mean that somebody's spending their days in Atlantic City, right? And I don't mean using the ocean as a mikvah. I mean like mamish, sometimes a person is actively doing the wrong things in life. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a person who leads a good life. A good life, let's say, just because I'm leading a good life doesn't necessarily mean that it's the life I'm supposed to be leading. So a person sometimes is haunted by that question, is, am I going in the right direction in life? They're not sure they're going in the right direction. We'll say at the end of the day, I'm just not sure. Am I making the right decisions? Have I made the right life decisions? And because a person doesn't know with certainty whether or not they've made the right life decisions, so what ends up happening is what? A person therefore has difficulty feeling simcha, because deep down I'm just not sure, am I in the right place? Am I in the right matzah? Am I in the right situation? So just turn the page, we'll read one line, then we're going to have to stop here for today. Ulam lo'or mashes barnu muvanata. So we'll say, but based on what we just explained before, shebazeh shemeina merutze me'achayim azai bevadai b'chol rega mechayim hem eina bochrim nachol. But we'll say, here's the problem. The problem is, and this Mechaber puts forward as a dramatic idea, in order to make the right decisions in life, a person has to be in the right state of mind. I mean, that's not a chiddush. This we all know, because the truth is, for many of us, if we look back on some of the mistakes we've made, usually we've made them because I haven't been in the right headspace. Sometimes I just had bad information. Sometimes I just didn't think things through. But sometimes it's just because I wasn't in a good place. And when I make decisions when I'm not in a good place, those decisions don't advance my cause of life. Therefore, the Mechaber says, here's the problem. If at the end of the day, I will say, I am unhappy, if at the end of the day I am unsure, Am I making the right decisions in life? And therefore, again, by definition, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm potentially depressed, because I just don't know if I'm doing the right things. Therefore, I'm not besimcha. It almost becomes like a, what's the right word? A cyclical, like self-fulfilling, meaning if I'm not in the right space, I don't make the right decisions. And if I don't make the right decisions, that fuels the fire of self-doubt. So a vicious cycle. So the Chaber says, Ki etzem, bless you, Ki etzem ha'argosha shelahem, shulahem einam osim es hadavar hanochum, because Rabbi say sometimes the worst thing in life that you can live with is self-doubt. Sometimes the pathway to self-fulfillment and self-actualization first requires a fixing of self-doubt before a person can progress any further. Which was we'll have to, and I'm stopping. We'll have to stop over here, Meretz Hashem. We'll pick up the middle of Tzadik Chesed, Meretz Hashem, tomorrow. All right, so we'll say good morning. Let's begin. So we're going to pick up. Actually, I gave you a little bit of homework last night. We're going to pick up Emirat Hashem on Kuf Nun Hey Amud Aleph Itmar. I know it's kind of in the middle of the daf, but it's the beginning of the new sugya. So let's begin there. 9 lines down from the top. Kuf Nun Hey Amud Aleph Itmar. She says the Gemara Itmar. Katan me'imasai mocher v'nichse aviv. So we come now to a fascinating discussion. At what point in time does a katan, at what point in time does a child have the ability to go ahead and sell off his father's property? Now, what's the case that we're referring to? We're going to take a look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam says katan. Both say it's 3-4 lines from before it gets wide. Katan hayorish nichse aviv shevim. So what we're talking about over here, a katan, a child who has inherited the estate of his father. So at what point in time is he permitted to go ahead and sell? 155, 9 lines down from the top. So at what point in time is he permitted to go ahead? Itmar. So at what point in time is he permitted to go ahead and sell off the property of his father? Look at the Rashbam. So we'll say the shaila is the following. At what point in time is a child considered to be mature enough and able enough that he's able to go ahead and sell off his father's property, the karka, and allow that transaction to stand? So the Gemara says, Rava Amar Rav Nachman. So we're going to have a machlokes in Rav Nachman. So Rava said the name of Rav Nachman, Ben Shmona Esrei Shana. So we'll say, you have Rava saying the name of Rav Nachman, 18 years old. But Rav Huna Bar Chinina Amar Rav Nachman, Ben Esrim Shana. And the both say, Rav Huna Bar Chinina, and the name of Rav Nachman said, 20 years old. So Rava is saying 18, Rav Huna is saying 20. So the Gemara said, we'll see, now you have to understand something. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're thinking to yourself that at the end of the day, why not just automatically say, once they reach the age of majority, 12 years old for a girl, 12 years old in a day for a girl, 13 years old in a day for a boy. What's the Shatra will say? This is not just about intellectual capacity. This is ultimately about the ability to possess some level of business acumen. What we are concerned about over here is the following. We do not want to give the child the right to sell off the property unless we are 1,000%, not 1,000%, unless we are somewhat sure that the child has the ability to know what's a good deal, what's not a good deal. If the child is just going to sell stuff off, then ultimately we are concerned that he's ultimately going to compromise his own interests. And therefore, again, the shaila is, at what point in time can we assume that the child possesses enough proper business acumen to be able to get the right amount of money for the land? So Rava says 18 years old, Rav Huna says 20 years old. So the Gemara says, Massive Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera raises a kasha. Rabbi said, the Gemara quotes over here. The Rashbam deletes those parentheses. Again, it's a true statement, but we'll see the impact of it a little bit later on. So Gemara quotes a kasha. Rabbi says this kasha is from yesterday's daf. So let's remember this case from yesterday. There was a son who inherited his father, and what happened? The son sold off a state property. Then what happened? After the son sold off the state property, what occurred? The son died. The remaining relatives came to Beis Din, and ultimately again came to object about the sale of the son, meaning the son's sale. And they said the following: the relatives came along, and they claimed that the child who sold off the property was a katan when he died. And because he was a katan, ultimately, again, his previous sale of the property should be null and void. And they came and asked Rabbi Akiva, what was your shaila? That's quite interesting. The shaila, as you saw yesterday's daf, Mahu labotko. Can we go ahead and exhume the body and go ahead and investigate, literally do an inspection to see if the child had developed signs of physical maturity? In other words, what they wanted to prove also was the following: that the child was a katan. They were going to prove that ultimately, again, through the lack of two hairs, of shtei saros, which is the most basic signs of physical maturity. So they wanted to exhume the body. They wanted to exhume the body, show that the child did not have shtei saros. Therefore, the child was a katan. If the child's a katan, therefore what? The transaction is void, the sale is void, and the family gets back its property. So remember, Rabbi Akiva said, no. Rabbi Akiva said, no, you can't do that. That's nivul hamis. So we'll say, just as an aside, by the way, it happens to be that there are circumstances when we would allow for the exhuming of a body. There are circumstances like that where for some type of benefit, great benefit, so usually not financial, so you'd be able to exhume a body. But Rabbi Akiva is saying you can't do that. Over here, this is nivul hameis. This would be a desecration of the dead. And furthermore, Rabbi Akiva says it won't help. I'll tell you why. Furthermore, Rabbi Akiva says there's no raya, because I will say what Rabbi Akiva is saying is the body changes after death. So what's going to happen over here? You're going to go ahead now. Obviously, what the relatives want to be able to show is what? No hairs, right? No saros. Rabbi Akiva says even if you exhume the body and you find that the child has no saros, that's not a raya, because also the child did have saros when he died and they fell out after death. So meaning because the body changes after death, therefore by definition you have no rayas. You have no rayas either way. So what the Gemara says the following. Now remember, the Gemara is bringing this up again in order to go ahead and show or try to demonstrate who is correct in this machlokus between Rava and Rav Huna. So Rava is saying, remember again, a child at the age of 18 has the right to sell off his father's property that he inherits. Rav Huna is saying the age of 20. Now I'll say, watch this. So according to Rava, who says that a child has to be the age of 18 when he goes in and sells off his property, this story makes sense. So we'll say, Amad Beis. Hainu dika'asu va'amrilei ma'ulabotko. I understand, I will say, why, if you say that the age of 18 is the age at which a son has the right to sell off his father's property, I understand why the relatives came before Rabbi Akiva, requested to exhume the body and to examine it for signs of physical maturation. Take a look at the Rashbam. Go top Rashbam, Koflim Hey 155b. Shimlo yimatsu bo sa'aros yachziku kekatan. So we'll say, because again, if they exhume the body of the 18-year-old and they don't find any hairs on it, then ultimately again, that we could establish that that child indeed was a katan. So we'll say, just the Rashbam adds in something extra over here. The Rashbam says that it's only when it comes ultimately to the selling off of property that you will require both of these things. A, an age requirement of 18, and B, signs of physical maturity, the 2 hairs. Aber le'inyan onshin u'mitzvos mi ben yud gimel chashiv gadol and heavy saros. So we'll say, just the Rashbam is just pointing out over here. Don't get confused that the Gemara is trying to redefine the threshold of gadlos, the threshold of becoming a gadol. The threshold of becoming a gadol for all other areas in life, Torah, mitzvos, onshim, all those kind of things, is still 13 years old in one day. This just happens to be a unique discussion by what? Business, by selling off property. So I'll say, so watch this. So the Gemara says, if you hold like Rava, who says that what? That the son has to be 18 years old. So then I understand why the family members went to Rabbi Akiva and asked to exhume the body, because they wanted to see ultimately again if the child had hairs or not. Ella, but watch this. If you hold like Rav Huna, that 20 years old is the age at which a child has the ability to sell off estate property, ki badkule my hobby. Even if they went ahead and they checked the body, what does it matter? After all, Bahatam will say, listen to this. Ben Esrim Shalohevi Shtei Saros. Now, understand, under normal circumstances, the presence of Shtei Saros, 2 pubic hairs, ultimately is a physical sign, is a sign of physical maturation. What the Gemara now points out to us is the following: that if after a certain point in time, the child, right, or the male does not present with signs of physical maturation, we attribute that to something else. The watch, he says in Rav Ben Esrem, if let's say a man is 20 years old, Shalohevi Shtei Saros, and I will say, what happened? He did not sprout 2 hairs. He did not bring 2 hairs. Yovi Raya Shuben Esrem. We'll say at that point in time, we bring a raya that he's 20 years old. V'hu has saris. And I will say he has a new category. What's his new category? He's a saris. I will say, what's a saris? What's a saris? A saris is a man, but a man who fails to physically mature. So we'll say he has the status of a man, meaning he's male. It's not like, androgynous or tum-tum, things like that. He's a man. But what we understand is, at the age of 20 years old, he has not presented with any signs of physical maturation, and we assume that what? It's not going to happen. We assume it's not going to happen. We assume that this is his status. So the Gemara says, so therefore, again, what we need is, we just need proof of age, right? We need to establish that indeed he is 20 years old. And what happens? And who are Soros? Now, what are the, if you look at the Rashbam says, Yavira, Krove ha'almana kedei lapacha. So again, we'll talk about this in terms of Yibum. Who are Soros? Ba'ariu Soros v'lo cholitz l'miyam kedam libamis. So let's say, listen to this. As a result of being a Soros, there are certain ramifications of this. Let's say, again, the Soros' brother dies. Soros' brother dies. He dies without children. The Soros does not do Yibum or Chalitza. The Amana will be free without anything. Now, why not? Look at the Rashbam. This is really interesting. I'm reading the Rashbam. Who has Saris? So we'll say second of the short lines of the Rashbam. V'hari has Saris for the Cholitzum Yavim Kidam B'ivamis. Tilo Karina Bei LaHakim LaAchiv Shein. Both say the assumption Chazal have is that a Saris cannot father children. Since the whole point of Yibum is for offspring, so we assume the Saris can't have children. Therefore, there's no Yibum and there's no Chalitza. Tilo Karina Bei LaHakim LaAchiv Shein. V'chol Shein Ola LeYibum Ina Ola LeChalitza. Alma. Mi ben esrem ve'elech afagav lo aisi saras kigadol machzikin or mipneshu saras lo aisi saras. Now watch this. So therefore, says the Gemara, after 20. Now again, you will see what the Gemara is doing. The Gemara is trying to prove from the episode of Rabbi Akiva. They wanted to exhume the body of Osai. Why? It must have been that the child who died was what age? Was 18. Because Rabbi say it would only be at 18 that the presence of hairs would make it, the presence of Shtei Saros would make a difference or not. Meaning that would be a determinant, was the child a gadol or a katan, or was it? But Rabbi say if the person in question, if the child in question that passed away was 20 years old, then the truth is the Saros wouldn't make a difference, because once you get to the age of 20, you are a gadol one way or another. Either you're a gadol because of physical maturation, but even if you don't have signs of physical maturation, nevertheless, what? You're still called a gadol. You happen to now have another designation of a saris, but you're a gadol as well, and therefore the transactions would stand. So the Gemara is pointing out that the fact that they wanted to exhume the body to examine for signs of physical maturation, it must be a raya to Rava that the age at which a child has the ability to sell off estate property is what age? Is the age of 18. Incredible. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Lav itmar Allah. Did we not say about this case of the Saris? Amar Rav Shlomo Rav Yitzchak. Amar Rav, v'hu shenoldu bo simani silis. So we'll say, no. By a sister Bosai, the absence of the signs of physical maturation is not the only determinant for being titled or for being labeled or designated as a siris. There have to be other factors that are present as well. Take a look at the Rashbam, right across from the Rashbam. V'hu shenoldu bo simani silis, simonin hameferoshim b'yevamis, techeivan di'ikatarti, chashvina le'kigodol. Aval ben esrim shelo hevi saros ve'in bo simani siris. So we'll say, the Gemara says Yevamis brings down, remember we learned this together. For example, the Gemara says, his voice doesn't get deep, has a more of a high-pitched voice, right? No facial hair. There are certain other siman that have to come along in order to make someone a siris. So the Gemara says over here, if in addition to no saros, if in addition to no shtei saros, he has these other signs or these other lack of signs of physical maturation, then such a person, we call this, just finish that Rashbam, v'inoldu bo simanis ris mikamei del havi ben esrim usaros namilo aisia kanti lo samchilo mechshav esris ad lehave esrim v'hebo simanis ris tikataki. So we'll say no. The absence of hairs by enough, says the Gemara, would not be enough to go ahead and label this individual as a sris. Rather, it's reaching the age of 20, not having the two saros, and also failing to demonstrate other signs of physical maturation. All of those things together will ultimately make a person a sir. So we'll say, so therefore again, the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, Daikanami Diktani. The truth is we have a raya to this as well, because what did the Mishnah say? V'hu hasaris. And we'll say ultimately again, the lashon of the Mishnah is hu hasaris. So we'll say hu hasaris means that there are other signs besides the failure to produce shtei saros that ultimately make this person a sris. Now we'll say, now that we're into sris, so there are kind of detours in this a little bit. So by the way, just as an aside, says the Gemara, up until what age? If you look at the Rashbam, the saros nami lo hevi ad kama nachzikinu kikatin. The Gemara asked an interesting question. See, here's what we've got. Under a normal circumstance, we'll say, what ends up happening is a man has signs of physical maturation. Specifically, again, shtei saros. So again, if he regular situation, a person has those siman of shtei saros, he becomes a full-fledged gadol. Let's say again, I will say that's case number one. Case number two is a man reaches the age of 20, doesn't produce shtei saros, but has other what we'll call, I don't want to call it feminine characteristics. I'll just call it non-male characteristics. Right? Person has a high-pitched voice. Person doesn't have facial hair, other things like that. So, okay, we know a person like that at the age of 20 is designated as a sris. We'll say, what happens, however? Let's say a person never produces shtei saros, but they also don't have these other qualities that would normally designate the person as a sris. In other words, how much time then has to elapse before we automatically designate such a person like that as sris? In other words, there comes a certain point, what the Gemara is asking is, there comes a certain point in time where even if you do not develop the other simanim of being a sris, that we have to assume that you're a sris. So how much time has to go by? Ad kama, Tani Rabbi Chia, ad rov shnosa. Rabbi Chia says, the majority of your life. Once the majority of your life has passed by, and you have not developed shtei saros, even if you don't have the other simani saros, we assume that a person is a sris. Now what does it mean, the majority of your life? Most of this it's actually a scary Rashbam. There's a Rov Shnosav, Lamid Vav Shanim. 36. But let's say once a person reaches the age of 36, the majority of their life is behind them. Now, what is the Rashbam yet? That's, of course, that's based on, I told you, it's an overwhelming. Let's say, by the way, that's even more powerful than the Musar and Ghanem. Right? I'm saying it's a person has to think this. Meaning, David Amal says, remember, a lifetime is 70 years. Lifetime is 70 years. So by the time you get to the age of 36, half of your life is behind you. At least that's the person has to think about life. So I'll say if a person, the majority of life has passed by, then what? Then the Maisa, and a person hasn't sprouted the shtei saros, and about say even though they don't have the other simani sris, nevertheless we designate the person as a sris. So the Gemara says kiyasal k'mei Kia. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, fine. The Gemara just talks about over here that interestingly enough about situations how Reb Chia would encourage people to change certain habits in order to go ahead and spur physical maturation. So Reb Chia supposed to say, sometimes when a person would come before Reb Chia and they would wonder again why it is that they're not physically maturing. So Reb Chia would say the following: if a person was very skinny, Amar Luhu Libri. So Reb Chia would tell them to put on a little bit of weight. The Ibri, if a person was too heavy, Amar Luhu Likhosh. Reb Chia would encourage them to lose some weight. So we'll say, so what's the chap? Dahani Simane, because also when it comes to physical maturation, these signs of physical maturation, Da'asu Machmas Kichushta, Zimnin Da'asu Machmash Priyusa. It's actually interesting. What Chia was saying essentially was the following: that sometimes the body does not mature or progress in the right way. If Lamais, again, there's not like physical equilibrium. Meaning if the systems are off a little bit, then Lamais that could impact physical maturation. So if a person was too thin, Rabbi Chia would tell them to put on some weight. Person was too heavy, Rabbi Chia would tell them to go ahead and lose some weight. Because sometimes, again, if Rabbi Chia was saying this, he says, sometimes simanim will come off a person that's thin, sometimes simanim will come off a person that's a little bit heavier. The point that he was trying to say is sometimes the person has to get the rest, which I will say, if you think about it, by the way, is an incredible metaphor. What do the simanim represent? The simanim represent maturation and development. If you want to mature and develop in life, I will say, a person has to be in the right state. This goes back to what we were learning before, right? If the person is not in the right state of equilibrium, too thin, too heavy, too this, too that, if I'm not in the right state of equilibrium, then advancement, self-actualization become exceptionally difficult. Fine. So I will say, so the point over here, by the way, is we still haven't resolved this. We're still locked in this machlokes, namely, what is the age at which a child has the right to go in and sell off his father's property? So you've got Rava saying 18, Rav Huna saying 20. So we'll say the Gemara doesn't resolve that. The Gemara instead goes Vaitri. Boilu toch zman kilif nezman or kila achar zman. So we'll say. So now here's the interesting kasha. The interesting kasha is the following. What about the following? So we'll say. So we have Rav Huna saying that age of 18 is when you can sell off the property. Excuse me. Rava saying 18. Rav Huna saying 20. We'll say, what about before 18? Let's say, we'll say, the way it works is once you turn 17 years old, you have then what? You enter into your 18th year. So the shaila is, what about, so when let's say Rava says 18, so does 18 mean you've reached 18? What about if you're in your 18th year? Similarly, again, when Rav Huna says 20, does 20 mean you've reached the age of 20? Or what about if you're in your 20th year? That's what it means. So the Gemara says, toch zman kilif neizman or kila achar zman. We'll say if you're in the 18th year or in the 20th year, is that considered to be like after the age of 18 or 20 or before the age of 18 or 20? Shaila, to which the Gemara says, Amar Rava says, so Rava said Amar Rav Nachman, toch zman kilif neizman. So we'll say Rava says, in the name of Rav Nachman, that before the 18th or 20th year, or in the 18th or in the 20th year is the equivalent of before 18, before 20, and therefore what? The transaction will be meaningless. Rava bar Rav Shila Amar Rav Nachman, we'll say Rava bar Rav Shila said the following, name Rav Nachman, toch zman kila achar zman. No. So we'll say Rava bar Rav Shila says, once you're in your 18th year, once you're in your 20th year, that's the equivalent of what? Of being post 18, post 20 in the transaction stance. Bahad Rava, Lad beferish itmar, ela mechlal itmar. We'll say Rava's statement that lifnei zman, or I should say toch zman, being in the 18th or 20th year. I will say, if you do transactions during that time, those transactions are meaningless. Because that is the equivalent. Being in the 18th year, being in the 20th year is no different than being 17 or 19, meaning the transaction is not good. That statement, I will say, wasn't said explicitly. Rather, it was inferred circumstantially. What's the case? We'll say, listen to this. Tahu, toch zman, The Ozil Zabin Nichse. So we'll say, watch this. There was a particular son. A boy who inherited his property, who inherited his father's property, and he was within his whatever it is, whether he was within the 18th year or he was in the 20th year. The point is, again, he was either 17 into the 18th year or 19 into the 20th year. And what did he do? He went ahead and he sold off a state property. Okay. And what happens? So he came before Rava, and Rava said the Shaila was, if you look at the Rashbam said it's the fifth wide line of the Rashbam. Asla kamei de Rava, kadei lachzor bo, v'lomar she'inu yodea b'tiv maso mata. So we'll say what happens. Now the son came before Rava, and what did he say to Rava? I made a mistake. To be honest, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I sold off that property. And therefore, Rava, I'm asking you to void the transaction. So what happened? Amar lahu lo asav lo klum. So Rava said, fine, right? Rava Paskin that the child's action was totally void. And again, I want to be clear. He's not a child, right? Rava was saying halacha, this is an adult. But for transactional purposes, Rava said the transaction was void. And Rava will say, man dechaza savar mishum detov. First wide line, savar mishum detov. Zman kilif neizman. So we'll say, this is amazing. And this is why it's so dangerous. Sometimes we all do this, but it's dangerous to draw conclusions based on what you think you see. So one who saw Rava Paskin this way, so assume that what? That the reason he passed and say was why? Because the boy was less than 18, or the boy was less than 20. And even though he was in his 18th year, even though he was in his 20th year, that's not good enough. And therefore the transaction is void. But in reality, says that wasn't the reason. Velohi Hasam Shtusa Yisirasa Chazube. Listen to this. Rava saw that the boy was exceptionally foolish. In other words, they will say, what does it mean? He saw that he had absolutely no business acumen. How did he saw that he had no business acumen? Because he saw that he was emancipating his servants. They both say, now the act of emancipating an Eved Kanani, you both say, is a bad move on two levels. First of all, it's an Issa D'Oraisa. You're not supposed to emancipate your Avodim Kanani. La'olam bahem ta'avodu. You're supposed to keep them. Number two, we'll say, Avodim are a good investment. Right? Avodim, again, there's a good return on investment with Avodim because there's a one-time purchase price. And I will say they work for you, right? They work for you. You don't owe them a wage. They need room and board, but you don't owe them an additional wage. So I will say, so Rava saw that this son was making bad business decisions. So because he was making bad business decisions, it's clear that his business acumen was compromised. And that's why the sale ultimately was not good. Shalach le, we'll say, let's go back there. Shalach le, Gidul bar Menashe Rava. So it's like Gidol bar Menashe sent the following kasha to Rava. What's the question? Yamdin Rabin, Rebbe, teach us the following. Tinokes bas arboes reishon of yom echad. Yodas betiv masa umat on what happens. Mao, we'll say, what happens to the following? You have a young girl, Tinokes, young girl, who is 14 years old in one day. But she is a sharp businesswoman. She knows her stuff. So we'll say, so the Gemara asks, so if Gidol bar Menashe asks Rava if she sells off the state property, is that a valid transaction or not? So Shalach le, so Shalach Rava sent back in Yoda'as betiv maso matan mekcha mekach umemkara memkar. Indeed, Rava said if she has sharp business acumen, then what she sold is sold, and what she purchases is purchases. And Rava said, now this is actually quite dramatic. Because we've also the Gemara saying over here is the Halal. Rav is saying is the following: we gave the age right of 18 or 20. What Rav is saying is the following: if the child is younger, now you have to be above the age of majority. But if right, you have to be a gadol or dola. If we see that the child is sharp and the child knows what they're doing, then what? Then even if they're younger than that 18 or 20 threshold, they're transacting. They're considered to be what we'll call transactionally competent. And if they're transactionally competent, then what they sell and what they buy on behalf of the estate, in fact, works. So the Gemara says, but one second. The Gemara asks, so first of all, the Gemara asks, why is Gidol bar Menashe asking about a girl? So you'll say, what does that mean? The Metzias is most cases of inheritance, you'll say, are what? Are sons. So if you're, I understand the Shaila, you'll say, what's the Shaila? The Shaila is, what happens if you have an inheritor who is younger than 18 or 20, but who clearly possesses good business acumen? Are they permitted to sell and buy on behalf of the estate? And Rava's answer was, yes. So you might ask Gidul Menashe, why are you asking a 14-year-old girl? Why don't you just ask a simple, straightforward case of a boy, an inheritor? To which the Gemara says, very simple, Ma'aseh shehaya kachaya. I'll say why? Because Gidul Menashe wasn't making up a case. You see, I will say he's saying this came before me. I literally dealt with this case. And tell me, Rebbe, what would you do in this case? So Gidul Menashe is still. Why don't you ask about a girl who's 12 years old in one day? In other words, why 14 years old in one day? Why not 12 years old in one day? To which the Gemara answers again, Ma'aseh shehaya kachaya. So I'll say, now why does the Gemara ask that question the second time? So it appears, based on the first answer, see, I will say, the Gemara's first question was what? Why ask about a girl, ask about a boy? To which the Gemara answers, because it was a girl. So we'll say, then the Gemara asks, okay, but why did you make her 14 years old in one day? In other words, the Gemara thought that Gidul Menashe just made up that age. The Gemara says, if you're asking about an age, then make the question most dramatic. Make her 12 years old in one day. Which I will say just means what? She just reached the age of majority. She has good business acumen. It's a good shidduch, right? Good shidduch, right? She has good business acumen. Ask about that. Which the Gemara says, again, no, you don't understand. When Gidul Menashe says a girl 14 years old in one day, this was the case. It was a girl, and she was 14 years old in one day. That's why Gidul Menashe asked the question that way. I will say, but you understand a very dramatic statement on behalf of Gidul Menashe, a very dramatic psak halacha by Rav. I will say, even though we were arguing on Amud Aleph, what is the age that a child is considered to be transactionally competent? And they could sell off estate property. Rav is saying 18, Rav Huna is saying 20. Rav comes along and says, oh, by the way, but if the child demonstrates transactional acumen at a younger age, or transactional competence at a younger age, so they can buy and sell on behalf of the estate even at a younger age. Now Rav's statement was not said explicitly, but rather, again, was inferred from the following Maisa. Listen to this. Ditmar. Hahu pachos mi ben esrim zobin nechsi. So also this nechsi avuki Gidul Menashe. Also there was a boy who was less than 20 years old who sold off estate property. He sold off estate property. Yeah, both say so. Okay. So what happens? Asula kami de Rava Amar le Krove. So they came before Rava. Now what happens is the boy is getting pressure from his relatives to go and to void the transaction, right? The relatives want the estate property back, the general relatives, and so they tell the boy, go before Rava, and ultimately do the following. So what do they tell him to do? So also the coming to Rava, Amruli Krove. So we'll say, so the relatives tell the boy who sold the property to do the following: Zil achol tamri, v'shadi be kishaisa. And throw the pits in front of Rava. Now look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Amrulei Krove, we'll say it's a 2, 4, 6 lines down in the wide lines. Amrulei Krove la'osi yasim. So the relatives told that particular yasim, go and eat dates. Zil achol tamri, v'hashlech garinim lifnei Rava. Go throw the garinim, go throw the pits in front of Rava. The savar sha'ata shota v'yachzilucha nechasim. We'll say, if somebody's eating dates and throwing their pits at your feet, so generally, again, that's weird behavior. It's just weird stuff. So such behavior like that would generally categorize a person as not being totally competent. So the relatives tell the boy who sold off the property, go eat dates, throw the pits at Rava's feet. When Rava sees it, he's going to assume that what? That's your show. That again, when we say shota, we don't mean like a halachic, like you're a football. It demonstrates a certain lack of intellectual acuity. And therefore, he's going to void the transaction. So sure enough, I'll say what happens. So Avadachi, the boy, the Yasim did this. Then again, they came to Beis Din asking Rava about the nature of the transaction. And Amrlu Zavina Lav Zavine. And ultimately, again, Rava Paskin, that's what? Rava Paskin, that the sale of the Yasim was void. Sale of the Yasim was void. The property goes back to the estate. So we'll say, so what happens? Now remember, Rava's Beis Din, we'll say, is going ahead and writing up the psak halacha. They're writing up the psak. The psak says that the yasim who sold the property, the sale is void. They're writing up the shtar. We'll say, now the purchasers of the property realized what happened over here. Rava was duped. Rava was duped, right? Essentially, it was a setup. The relatives advised the Yasam to go ahead and act foolish so that Rava would void the transaction. The purchasers realized what has just occurred over here. So I'll say, so watch what they do. Amrulei Lukuchos. So we'll say, as they're writing up the shtar, so remember again, when you go to Beis Din, there's a fee. So if you want Beis Din to write up the psak halacha, there's going to be a fee for that. So the Lukuchos, the purchasers, went over to the Yasam and they said the following, make sure you don't get cheated by Beis Din. Zil emalei l'Rava. Make sure you tell Rava, because again, the Beis Din wanted to charge the boy a zuz, the Yasam, a zuz. That's the transactional fee for writing up the shtar. So the Lekuchos, the purchasers, told the Yasam, they said, you should go tell Rava, Megillas Esther bezuzo, shtar demar bezuzo. I can get a whole Megillah for a zuz, and you're going to charge me a zuz. In other words, what did the Lekuchos tell the Yasam? He goes, you should really handle. You really should handle. If you're a good Jew, you should handle. Right? Just because he tells you it's a zuz, even though it's Rav, and even though it's Yisibos, you learn from this by incredible Musar. No one is above handling, right? It doesn't matter if it's Rava, right? Even if it's Rava. If Rava tells you a zuz, you should negotiate. So the Lekuchos tell the Yasam, Rava's going to want to charge you a zuz for this document. You should tell Rava, listen, a zuz, I can get a Megillas Esther and the coffee, right? For a zuz, right? You're going to charge me a zuz for this document. It seems to be a bit high. So I say, so watch this. Now, what are the Lekuchos trying to do? The Lekuchos are trying to show us that what? This boy has capacity. What's the greatest demonstration of business capacity? The ability to bargain, the ability to negotiate. So they're going to show Rava that it's a setup, meaning they set you up. This boy pretended that he was foolish. I call him a boy. He's really a man. He pretends he's foolish, but he's not foolish. He knows exactly what he's doing. He has capacity, and therefore the transaction would stand. So I'll say, so watch this. So sure enough, the boy did this and began to handle ultimately again with Rava. So Azal Amr Lahu Zavine. So what happens? So Rava reverses the psak. He realizes that the boy, in fact, has capacity, has the ability to handle, to negotiate. Therefore, again, he has proper business acuity and acumen. He has proper business competence, and therefore, again, the original sale stands. Rava reverses his psak. The krovim, the relatives of the boy, are not happy. Amrulei krove, lekuchos agmeru. So Rava was like, such a chutzpah. So what happens? So the krovim say to Rava, it's not true. It was the purchaser who got the boy to say this. You did the same exact thing with the dates, right? But again, so the krovim are claiming now the fact that he was able to, he's not really able to handle. He's not that sophisticated. Rather, again, they fed him the lines and told him what he should do. Amar lahu, masperi le savar. We'll say that's fine. Even if they gave him the eitzah, Rava says he was good at it, right? In other words, he knew exactly. Maybe he knew exactly what to do, and because he knew exactly what to do, therefore, again, I understood from the way he conducted himself that he does in fact have proper business competence, and therefore, again, the original sale stands. What about the dates? What about the fact that he threw date pits, at Rava's feet? Is that not a sign of shtosa being a shota? And now I understand that the throwing of the dates, that was just chutzpah. That wasn't the fact that he's a shota. That wasn't the fact that he lacks intellectual acuity or competence. That was just that the guy is a mechutzef, right? The kid is a little bit of a mechutzef. Then he went ahead and did. Therefore, both sides, ultimately, again, Rava established that he in fact has the proper business acumen, and therefore his transaction stands. Amar Rav Huna Beit Rav Yehoshua. Ula eidos edusa eidos. I will say this is amazing. So comes from Rav Yehoshua and says the following: that when it comes to eidos, his eidos is evaluated. So what does this mean? Take a look at the Rashba. We'll say it's 2, 4, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. Amar Rav Huna ula edusa meid. Rav Huna says, right from Rav Yehoshua, Afa pi shamana b'pachos michaf. Shiniyodeh betiv mas umatan ino mocher b'nechse abed, aber leidus ne'aman hu laha'id mashera v'ushveshama miben yurkimo ve'elach shevi shteis aros hol ve'enashot. We'll say so again. Rafuna comes along and says, by the way, just so you understand, I will say this. We mentioned this before, but it's important to point it out again. We're talking about over here that a child or a boy less than 18 or 20 doesn't possess the necessary business acumen to sell off property. But just because they don't possess the proper business acumen doesn't mean what they're both saying, that it has impact on other things. For example, for testimony, once a boy reaches the age of what they're both saying, once he reaches the age of 13 years old in one day and displays signs of physical maturation, ultimately, again, he's considered to be a gadol for Eidos purpose. What the Gemara is coming along to say is, don't let this din by property color other halachos. This is dafka a din by property, just to make sure that the yasam does not sell off property if he doesn't know what he's doing. But in other areas of halacha, he is a bona fide gadol already after the age of 13 years old one day, assuming that he has some signs of physical maturation. So the Gemara says, Amar Zutra, Lo Amar El Metaltali. When do we say that his eidos is believed? That's only when it comes to what? When it comes to movable property. Aval Mekar Koilo. Rabbi say at the end of the day, I believe is eidos when it's eidos about real property. So both say the Gemara seems to be saying over here that age of 18, 20 has an impact regarding all things regarding real property. He can't sell real property. He can't testify about real property. But that's dafka din in karka. When it comes to other things, he's considered to be a gadol even from a younger age. Amrli Ravashi the Marzotra, Mashna Matatali. This so we'll say, why is it ultimately again? I skipped the line. Right? When do we say that his eidos is accepted? His eidos is accepted lagabe metaltalin, but not lagabe karka. So we'll say, what a strange statement. Why is it that his eidos would be believed by metaltalin but not by karka? We'll say, why is his testimony believed by metaltalin but not by karka? The pashtos, it's because disabini zvini. We'll say the pashtos is because that's what? We assume because since he has the ability to sell metaltalin, therefore what? He should have the ability to be made a metaltalin as well. So we'll say, Elameata hadisna. So you know what? We're going to stop over here for today. So again, just to understand where we're stopping. Here's what we've got. What we've got, number one, is a machlokes, what age? Well, number one, we've established that just because a yasam is above the age of 13 years old in one day does not automatically vest him with the right to sell off a state property. He has to reach some level of what we'll call intellectual or business acuity in order to sell off the property. What is that age? Rava 18, Rav Huna saying the age of 20. Gidul Bar Menashe teaches us what Rabbi was saying, that however, in the name of, and Rava also, that however, if a child from a younger age already demonstrates what we'll call commerce capacity, business capacity, then what? He could sell off property even at a younger age. We've also established that halacha l'maisa, again, being in the 18th year or in the 20th year is not enough. In the 18th year, 20th year, that's considered to be underage. It's only after he reaches the age of 18 or after he reaches the age of 20. Now, boss, and now what we're seeing is, however, even though you have to be 18 or 20 to be able to sell off property, still for eidos purposes, for testimony purposes, 13 years old in one day is the threshold for gadlus. Now, boss, what we are leaving off with is the Gemara suggesting that perhaps even for eidos, that's only eidos on movable property. But perhaps again, eidos on real property, again, even that child or even that yasam below 18, below 20 will not be permitted to testify regarding metaltalin, and the resolution of that we'll see in Hashem tomorrow morning.